Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this demo lesson on the corporate edge, which is organized by Growth Together. Gain the edge today. So, today is the day that you should decide to gain that edge in terms of your corporate career. Just want to let you know that there are two programs that are going to be launched on the 9th of October and on the 12th of October. On the 9th of October will be the program, the Corporate Edge program for managers and above levels. And this will be a program with a duration of 4 months, and it will be held every Friday from 6 to 8:30 p.m. And the investment will be rupees 45,000, and there is a 10% discount for the first 10 registrations before the 8th of October, and also 4-month installment plans are available as well. And the second program will be starting on the 12th, which is for students and for executives. And again, it's a 4-month duration, and it will be held every Monday from 6 to 8:30 p.m. And the investment will be rupees 40,000. And again, there will be a 10% discount for the first 10 registrations before the 8th of October. And again, the 4 months installment plan is also available. And both programs will be held at Global Technological Campus, which is based at Dutu Gamanu Street, Kohuela. So you can get in touch with me on 0718 698 070 in terms of getting more information about this program. Choose the job you love, then you'll never have to work a day in your life. So this was a statement made by Confucius, and his statement has a lot of meaning here. Choose the job that you love. I think this is something that all of us really want to do, work or do something that we truly love, and at the same time earn an income also doing a job that we love. But in the ideal world, in reality, I think most of us are not in an environment where we truly enjoy our work. So when we do eventually find a place of work that we love, it will not feel like work at all. It will just feel like another part of your life, and it will be truly enjoyable. And the bonus thing is, you will be earning a substantial income in terms of the job that you do when you do a job that you love. Okay, so when it comes to the program, the lesson today, all of the programs will be based on certain topics in terms of the corporate world. So today we're going to be looking at work-life balance. So the whole lesson is based on this work-life balance. And this will be the pattern of all the lessons that will be conducted for the two programs that I mentioned. So for each lesson, we will be concentrating on certain important topics in terms of the corporate world. So today we're going to be looking at work-life balance. So these are the learning objectives of today's lesson, or the lesson, this demo lesson. Business communication skills, which is important because it's all about business communication, how we use the language, which is the English language, and also how to use that language in an effective way to communicate our ideas. So under business communication skills, we're going to be looking at discussing work-life balance, fluency, talking about work routines. So when we say fluency, it's about how confident we are in getting our ideas across, whether the language we use is in the right order, and do we make sense, or is there cohesiveness, as we say in the English language. So fluency, talking about work routines, completing a questionnaire on exercise, discussing exercise and ways to relax. And reading, which is also important because a good way of learning information or gaining information about the business world is through reading. We can learn a lot. We can learn the vocabulary. We can learn sentence structures. We can learn the spelling, which is also important through reading. So under reading, we're going to read an article about work-life balance. We're going to read about a profile of a business executive's typical day. and then an article about exercise and lifestyle. These are all related to work-life balance. And then listening. Listening is also very important because listening is a key skill that you need, because without listening, you can't make effective decisions, because it's sometimes very important to listen before you talk, right? So listening is a key component of this program. So conversation about someone's new job. So we're going to be listening to a conversation between two people talking about someone's new job. And then we have phrase bank. Okay, so these are phrases or groups of words that you can use in your language skills, when you're communicating, to talk about work-life balance. So talking about routines, phrasal verbs, do as an auxiliary verb. So we're going to look at all this. And also there is a grammar component, which is extremely important, because you need to understand how the English language works, especially when it comes to speaking and writing. Because when it comes to the corporate world, it's not just about speaking, it's also about writing. When you have to write reports, when you have to do presentations, when you have to put PowerPoint slides, and also when you're writing emails, when you're conversing with your colleagues, you need to be able to know grammar well in order to ensure that whatever you're saying is clearly put forward. Okay, so that's why grammar is extremely important. So please do not think that grammar is unimportant. Even when it comes to speaking as well, grammar is extremely important, because we need to know why we are saying this, and we need to understand the structure. Okay, so this is the learning objectives for this demo lesson. So here is the first exercise. Okay, so there'll be a lot of exercises. So there'll be a lot of practical exercises. It's not just about me talking, it's about you also getting involved. I will be there to guide you, to run you through each of the tasks and each of the articles, the questions, the certain programs and everything. But at the end of the day, it is you who will be doing the majority of the work. Okay, so here's the first task. Complete this extract from an article about work-life balance with the numbers in the box. Okay, complete this extract from an article about work-life balance with the numbers in the box. Okay, so you have the numbers 2, the number 1625, the number 3, the number 48, and the number 76,700. Okay, so the first one has been done for us. Okay, a new work study shows that full-time male workers in Britain work 2 hours per week longer than the European average. So likewise, I'm just going to give you a few moments just to look at this exercise and see if you can fill in the blank with the correct numbers. Okay, so let's look at the answers. So here are the answers. So A is 2, B is 3, C is 48, D is 1625, and E 76,700. So let me just reread the article with all these numbers in place. So when you're reading articles like this, try to take in or absorb the language that is being used and look at the vocabulary. This is very important. This is how you learn English, through reading. This is how you learn new words. Okay, if you have a dictionary by your side, that will be even better. Or a thesaurus. A thesaurus will tell you what you call, talk about synonyms and stuff like that, similar words. And the dictionary will be helpful in terms of trying to understand the definitions of certain words that come up in this article. So I'm going to read the article now with the answers in it. Okay. A new study shows that full-time male workers in Britain work 2 hours per week longer than the European average. The long hours culture is still a problem for many workers in this country, despite the recent growth of part-time jobs. Despite a fall in the number of people working very long hours, 3 million employees still work more than 48 hours, around 1 in 8. Excessive working time is linked with the development of health problems like heart disease, diabetes, stress, and depression. It can also lead to poor performance and absenteeism and takes time away from things like training and education, which are necessary for economic success. The average UK worker spends 1,625 hours a year at work, yet only produces $76,700 in GDP value. So GDP means gross domestic product. Okay, so this is like the average uh, income earned by an individual in a certain country. So in this case, the gross domestic product value is $76,700. So I hope you were listening to me reading this article very carefully, and I hope you did listen to the pronunciations as well, because it is important that you pronounce the words correctly. Because I know in Sri Lanka we have a certain way of pronouncing words. Okay, so sometimes it can be incorrect. So what we should really focus on is pronouncing the words correctly. Okay, so the best, what I follow is the British system of pronunciation. I know that we have the American system, we have the Australian system, the New Zealand system, okay, but what I follow is the British system of pronouncing. So if you really want to find out how to pronounce a word, I suggest that if you can Google or go online, look for Cambridge Dictionary, Cambridge University Dictionary, okay. So if you go into that and if you type in a word, it will give you both the American pronunciation and also the British pronunciation. Okay, both the American and the British pronunciation will be available. So, but my suggestion is stick to the British pronunciation for now. But should you travel or should you find yourself in the States or the United States, please stick to American pronunciation because they will be able to understand you better. Okay. Right, so before we read the next article, okay, it says read the profile of a leading executive and answer the questions, okay? So before we read the article, let's look at the questions that are being asked. So once you've gone through these questions, okay, think about these questions and the answers for these questions as we read the article on the next slide, okay? So question A is, what time does Sally McDermott start working in the morning? What time does Sally McDermott start work in the morning? What time does she normally get to office? What time does she normally get to the office? How long does she take off for lunch? How long does she take off for lunch? Why does she prefer to call people rather than send an email? Why does she prefer to call people rather than send an email? How often does she have to work at the weekend? How often does she have to work at the weekend? Okay, so these are the questions, so keep them in mind and let's move on to the next slide. So here the article. So I'm going to read this article. So listen very carefully and see whether you can pick out the answers for those questions that were asked in the previous slide. Okay. A day in the life of Sally McDermott. A day in the life of Sally McDermott. Sally McDermott is the international operations manager of a major telecoms company with operations in most of Europe and Latin America. Her career has included periods of work in Portugal, Paris, and London. She speaks Spanish, French, and Russian as well as English. So this is her stating, this is actually her talking about her work life. Okay? People often ask me how I managed to combine a successful career with family life. The secret is that I don't need much sleep. 5 hours is enough. So by 5:30 a.m., I am usually up. reading reports and checking emails on my smartphone. Then I have breakfast at 8 a.m. together with my husband Derek and my 15-year-old daughter Katie. I go to work in a taxi which picks me up at 8:30 a.m. every day. On the way to work, I look through the daily papers. It normally takes us about 20 minutes to get to the office. When I arrive, my secretary joins me and we go through any correspondence and plan the day. I make decisions about appointments and organize meetings. I drink a lot of coffee and mineral water. I usually have just a sandwich for lunch or sometimes something in a nearby restaurant, but I am never out for more than an hour. Then, in the afternoon, it's back to the office and more meetings, although once a month I take an afternoon off, if it's possible. When I'm not in a meeting, I am constantly on the phone. I use the phone whenever possible because it's nearly always quicker than using email. Even if I'm in the office, I prefer to use my smartphone. I hardly ever send text messages except to my daughter. It's just too time consuming. I like to pick Katie up from school when I can, but most days I work until at least 8 p.m. Weekends are reserved for my family. I don't often have to work, but sometimes something comes up which I just can't avoid. All in all, it's hard work, but I enjoy my job. Okay, so that is the article there. So here are the questions again. Okay, so here are the questions again. So I'm just going to bring up those paragraphs for you. So just quickly see if you can find the answers for each of those questions, okay, for each of the questions, okay. If you want, you can pause this video, but let's look at the answers. So here are the answers. So how can you find these answers? Okay, so maybe some of the answers you might have found a little bit tricky to find, but let me just walk you through the answers. So the first question was, what time does Sally McDermott start working in the morning? Okay, so the answer is 5:30 a.m. So why is it 5:30 a.m.? So the answer is here. So the first thing is, okay, now a key skill when it comes to reading articles and trying to answer questions is you need to use a skill called skimming or scanning. There's two skills, skimming or scanning. Skimming means you're just quickly going through everything, okay, just quickly running through the article just to get an idea of what the article is about. Scanning is where you try to find keywords that could be possible answers for your questions. Or sometimes when you look at the question, some of those words in the question could be the keywords found in the article. So that's what you mean by scanning. Skimming is where you're quickly reading it. You quickly read it. You're not going to be reading it word for word. Okay, you're not going to read it in detail. You're just going to quickly scan it. Okay, quickly skim it and just really just get the idea of the article. Scanning is where you're looking for keywords that will help you to find the answer, right? So now the first one is, what time does Sally McDermott start work in the morning? Okay, so if you go to this paragraph 1, you can see the answer is 5:30 a.m. So here 5:30 a.m. Now this is a little bit tricky. It says here 5 hours is enough. So by 5:30 a.m. I am usually up, reading reports and checking emails on my smartphone. So you might be wondering, okay, this doesn't mean that she has started work, but it does actually mean she has started work, because she starts a day by doing what? Reading reports and checking emails on my smartphone. So these are related to her work. So her work day actually begins at 5:30 a.m. Okay, so that's why this is the answer. What time does she normally get to the office? So the answer is 8:50 a.m. So that answer is here in paragraph 2. Now it says here, it normally takes about 20 minutes to get to the office. Okay. What time does the taxi pick her up? Now the taxi picks her up at 8:30 a.m. Okay, 8:30. So she leaves home by 8:30 a.m. and there is a 20 minutes travel time. So when you add 20 minutes to 8:30, it what is the number? So it will be 8:50, isn't it? So you're adding 20 to when you add 30 and 20 is 50. So it'll be 8:50. So that's why the time is 8:50 a.m. So she gets to the office at 8:50 a.m. Okay. How long does she take off for lunch? Okay. So the answer is never more than an hour. So it's mentioned here. I drink a lot of coffee and mineral water. I usually have just a sandwich for lunch or sometimes something in a nearby restaurant. But I am never out for more than an hour. So that means she doesn't go beyond 1 hour in terms of her lunch. So she's very disciplined in terms of her work ethic. Okay. Why does she prefer to call people rather than send an email? Okay. So the answer is using the phone is nearly always quicker than using email. So that answer is here again. Okay, here we are in paragraph 3. I use the phone whenever possible because it's nearly always quicker than using email, right? So basically when it comes to an email, so why is making a phone call quicker than writing an email? Because email you have to type, you have to think, okay? But when it comes to a phone call, you can directly call the person and just convey whatever you want to convey. But when it comes to an email, you have to wait until that person receives that email in order to get a response. But when you're calling, you can immediately get a response. So that is why making a phone call is quicker than using an email. Maybe this is something you could use in your own working context as well, because sometimes instead of sending an email, or maybe sometimes we are used to sending SMSs, it would be better just to call the person because you will get an immediate response then and there, or you could maybe find out if the person is available or not. Okay. And then the final question is, how often does she have to work at the weekend? And the answer is only occasionally. So if you go to the last paragraph, it says here, I like to pick Katie up from school when I can, but most days I work until at least 8 p.m. Weekends are reserved for my family. I don't often have to work, but sometimes something comes up which I can't avoid. So here it clearly says she doesn't often work on weekends. Okay, she only works when something unexpected comes up. So weekend is set aside for the family. Okay. So now let's look at this question here. Okay, how how typical do you think Sally McDermott's life is? Does she have a good work-life balance? Why and why not? So in your opinion, does she have a good work-life balance in terms of her work? Okay, how typical is this sort of scenario? Okay, apologies if you heard a voice, okay, because I'm actually recording this from my from my school where I teach. Okay, so the lady came and asked, would I like a cup of tea or coffee? Okay, so I said I wanted a cup of tea. Okay, right, let's move on. Okay, so how typical do you think Sally McDermott's life is? Does she have work-life balance or does she not? Okay, so in my opinion, I feel this is a typical working scenario. I think a lot of people, or maybe a lot of people in the work in the corporate sector go through a similar situation as to what Sally goes through here. And does she have a good work-life balance? I think she does, because on the weekends, okay, she sets it aside for her family, which is important. When we talk about work-life balance, our family plays an important role, because we need to ensure that, okay, during the week it's okay to concentrate on work, but during the weekend you really need to let your hair down and spend some time with your loved ones, which is your family. So it's important. So in this case, she does have a work-life balance, but unfortunately there are circumstances where she will have to work on weekends. And if you are in the corporate sector, I'm sure if you have a major deadline, let's say there's a system changeover or there's a major project, there will be instances when you will have to work on the weekends. Okay, but not always, right? Right, next question. Underline all the phrases in the profile on page 13. Okay, that's the article we looked at before, which say how often something happens. The first one has been done for you, okay? So here, you have to underline all the phrases in the profile, okay, which talks about how often, or similar words or phrases that say how often something happens, okay? So let me just bring out the paragraphs again. So just take a few moments if you can identify the words that or the phrases that talk about how often something happens. So the first one has been underlined for you, as you can see, how often. Okay, so here are the answers: often, usually, every day, normally, never, once a month, constantly. So here are the answers here. So please just see if you can identify these words in the paragraph here. So these are the words that talk about how often something happens, okay? So this is what I mean. When you're reading an article, you need to pick up on these types of words, okay? Okay, how these words are used, okay, and in what context, okay? This is important when you're learning business English. Right, now we're going to move on to the listening part, okay? So now we looked at reading, but there's still more reading to do. But now we're just going to quickly move on to the listening part. So here I'm going to play an audio, okay? The script is here, okay? So you can easily follow and understand what is being spoken, okay? But my suggestion is for you to listen first and then to go through the script. But in this case, let's just listen and follow the script at the same time, okay? So the audio is about two friends meet and talk about someone's new job. Listen to their conversation and answer the questions, okay? What is the relationship between Eddie, the man, and Fiona, the person with the new job? Okay, so the first question is, what is the relationship? So you need to listen very carefully and try to figure out what is the relationship between Eddie and Fiona. And also, second one is, how does Eddie feel about the new job? So you need to really listen carefully and try to understand Eddie's feelings about the new job that this person, Fiona, is receiving or is accepting or is about to start. Okay?
Track 3.
Hi, Eddie. How are you?
Oh, hello, Jenny. I'm fine. And you?
Fine, thanks. How's Fiona?
Oh, she's okay. She's got a new job.
Really? That's good.
Well, yes, I suppose so, but I'm worried she's working too hard.
Oh dear. Does it involve long hours?
Officially, 40 hours, but she often works late. We don't see her at home much.
What's she doing?
It's the same company, you know, educational software, but she's regional marketing manager for Latin America now.
Sounds impressive. What does it involve?
Quite a lot. Apart from being in charge of the sales reps, she also works on new product development and the whole marketing strategy of the company.
Does it mean a lot of travelling?
It seems to, at least a couple of trips a month.
I see.
I don't mind that. It's the weekends that cause problems.
Does she have to work weekends?
Not every weekend, but we can never make plans.
Oh dear. How much holiday does she get?
It's not bad. 3 weeks a year, but that's a long way off.
You're being a bit negative. Does she enjoy it?
It's hard work, but I think she enjoys the challenge.
But you're not very happy.
I'm happy for her. The money's good and it's great for her career, but there is a downside.
Well, it's always difficult at the beginning. Anyway, give her my regards. Why don't we go for a drink sometime?
Okay, I will. And yes, I'd like that.
Okay, so that was the audio. So what do you think the answer is for the first one? So Eddie and Fiona. So in this case, I would assume that Fiona is actually Eddie's wife. Okay, so in this case, Fiona is accepting a new job. Okay, a very interesting job and a very important job. But how do you think how does Eddie feel about the new job? I think from his tone of voice, okay, if you listen very carefully, you would realize that he was not too happy because it kind of affects that work-life balance that he's looking for from his wife. And also I think, the amount of time that the wife will be able to spend at home is going to be less, so he's not too pleased about that. Okay, so those are his feelings. Okay, so I hope that's what you gathered from the audio. Okay, we're going to be listening to that again in the next slide. Right, so you have an exercise. Again, you have to listen very carefully to the audio because this is an exercise here. So what you need to do is write questions for the answers using the prompts. Listen again to check your answer. So first of all, try to see if you can construct these sentences, okay? So the first one has been done. Involve long hours. Does it involve long hours, okay? Officially 40 hours, but she often works late. We don't see her at home much, okay? So they have given you the words you need to use to create the sentence, okay? So in this case, involve long hours. So does it involve long hours? So that is the question you're going to make. So likewise, with these words in the brackets, you need to try to make the remaining sentences, okay? Right? So all of them will be question sentences, right? Okay. So I'll just give you a few minutes, or you can just pause this video and see if you can try to create those sentences, okay? And then I'm going to play the audio so that you can recheck, you can check your answers, okay? Okay, so I'm going to play the audio. So just listen to the audio and see whether you can pick out some of those questions being asked.
Track 3.
Hi, Eddie. How are you?
Oh, hello, Jenny. I'm fine. And you?
Fine, thanks. How's Fiona?
Oh, she's okay. She's got a new job.
Really? That's good.
Well, yes, I suppose so, but I'm worried she's working too hard.
Oh dear. Does it involve long hours?
Officially 40 hours, but she often works late. We don't see her at home much.
What's she doing?
It's the same company, educational software, but she's regional marketing manager for Latin America now.
Sounds impressive. What does it involve?
Quite a lot. Apart from being in charge of the sales reps, she also works on new product development and the whole marketing strategy of the company.
Does it mean a lot of travelling?
It seems to, at least a couple of trips a month.
I see.
I don't mind that. It's the weekends that cause problems.
Does she have to work weekends?
Not every weekend, but we can never make plans.
Oh dear. How much holiday does she get?
It's not bad. 3 weeks a year, but that's a long way off.
You're being a bit negative. Does she enjoy it?
It's hard work, but I think she enjoys the challenge.
But you're not very happy.
I'm happy for her. The money's good and it's great for her career, but there is a downside.
Well, it's always difficult at the beginning. Anyway, give her my regards. Why don't we go for a drink sometime?
Okay, I will. And yes, I'd like that.
Okay, so here are the answers for the question. So the first one is, does it involve long hours? What's she doing, or what does she do? What does it involve? Does it mean a lot of traveling? Does she have to work weekends? How much holiday does she get? Does she enjoy it? Okay, so this is why listening is extremely important, okay? Because sometimes you can pick up, especially when it comes to the pronunciation of words, and if you happen to come across a native speaker, okay, in the corporate world, you might get an opportunity to travel abroad. So then if you listen to a proper native speaker, then if you listen very carefully, you can pick up a lot of things, especially pronunciation. So that's why listening is important. But in the corporate world, listening is extremely important because you need to, if you're a manager, you need to listen to your subordinates and your superiors in terms of making decisions, right? So that's why listening is a key component when it comes to communication skills. Right, taking things easy. Do you take regular exercise? Do you think it's important? Complete the questionnaire below. So now this is a moment for you to once again think. So we're looking at work-life balance, okay? So we looked at how working too much can affect people, and we looked at a typical profile of a person in the corporate world, and now we listen to somebody, talking about them not being too happy about their wife getting a job that takes them away from family commitments, etc., like that, and it works vice versa as well. Right? Sometimes there are husbands also who have to work a lot, and so they don't have enough time to spend with family, etc., like that. And also, when it comes to work-life balance, something that is important is exercise. Okay, ensuring that you get plenty of exercise. Okay, so now here are the questions. Do you take regular exercise? Do you think it's important? Complete the questionnaire below. So this is a typical questionnaire. A questionnaire is something where you are asked certain questions and you're asked to give an answer. And these are normally used in surveys when we're trying to figure out. I think when it comes to marketing, questionnaires are used quite a bit to gather data to understand the consumer or the final customer. Okay. Right, so let's just go through this questionnaire. Okay, do you take regular exercise? I try to take regular exercise, but to be honest, I've not been really good at it. But it's very important that you do, because I feel a clear difference when I do exercise. Do you think it's important? In my opinion, exercise is very important. You should at least exercise for 30 minutes a day just to ensure your body is really functioning properly, it gets the chance to move around. Okay, right, so let's look at the questionnaire. Taking exercise is the best solution for stress. True or false? Okay. In your opinion, taking exercise is the best solution for stress. True or false? Well, in my opinion, I would say yes. There is some data to back it up. There is some information to back it up. So I would say true. Sport is the key to a healthy and long life. Again, I would say true, because doing sports is important, especially team sports. It kind of rejuvenates, and it also helps in the corporate sector as well, because you're a part of a team. So it's important that you're part of a team so that you learn how to work with your colleagues. Okay, so again, I would say true. People who get up early suffer from stress. Now, this can be both true or false. This depends on person to person. In my opinion, if I don't get enough sleep and if I have to get up very early in the morning, yes, I will get stressed out. So I would say true, and it could, you know, really have an adverse effect on your health. So I would say true, but when you look at people like, let's say, famous people like Steve Jobs, or let's say Bill Gates, I've read that they sometimes tend to get up very early in the morning. So in their case, you can see that there has not been any adverse effects. So they would say probably false. Okay, so it varies from person to person. Okay, people who have a sleep during the day live longer. People who have a sleep during the day live longer. Now this means taking a nap. Okay, so I have read that taking a nap is really useful, and it just boosts your system. Okay, especially when you're having a long day, it's good to have maybe a 20-minute nap. We call it a power nap, a quick nap. Okay, but it's not good to be sleeping for excessive time periods, like let's say for 2 hours or 3 hours in the afternoon. I think you should only focus on getting the required amount of hours, of required number of hours in terms of sleep. Okay, right, so in my case, I would say it's true. Okay, people who have sleep, no, I would say it's false. Sorry, I would say it's false. Okay, people in their 50s need to save their energy. Now when we say 50, we're talking about people that have got on in years, so their body is not functioning as well as it should when compared to when they were younger. So in my case, I would say true, they should conserve a little bit of energy, but that does not mean that they should stay in one place. Okay. Brisk walks are the healthiest form of exercise. Again, there is statistics to back this up. So I would say true. More than running or jogging, they say a brisk walk is a lot more efficient compared to running and jogging, because running and jogging tends to what you call be a bit strenuous. It tends to really affect your body quite a bit. It makes you really tired. Okay, it makes you exert a lot of energy. But when it comes to brisk walks, it's just about right in terms of energy being exerted. Okay, right. So those are my ideas in terms of these questions being asked here. But you can come up with your own answers in terms of this. Okay. Right, so here is the article in concern. Okay, now read the article to see if your answers are the same as the authors. So let's see what the author says in terms of these questions that have been asked. Okay, so let me read this for you. So listen very carefully, and also if you have a dictionary, just try to see if you can pick out certain words in this article that you can refer to later using a dictionary and try to understand the meaning of the word and also understand the context that it's being used. Okay? They say that a healthy body is a healthy mind, but according to a German expert, it is lazy people who lead longer and healthier lives. Professor Peter Axt recommends avoiding strenuous activity like aerobics or working out in a gym. People who prefer to laze in a hammock instead of running a marathon or who take a midday nap instead of playing squash have a better chance of living into old age, says this scientist. They are also less likely to suffer from professional stress. He co-wrote on the joy of laziness with his daughter, who is also a doctor. In the book, he advises people to waste half your time. Just enjoy lazing around. Those who get up early in the morning usually feel stressed for the rest of the day. So his advice is to take it easy. However, Professor Axe stresses that laziness is only one of the keys to a longer life. In fact, the subtitle of his book is How Best to Use Your Energies. He argues that if you are too fast, you need more energy to maintain body functions, and is in favor of moderate exercise like meditative jogging or brisk walks to relax body and spirit at the same time. On the other hand, any exertion is not recommended, especially for middle-aged people who should be particularly careful about doing too much sport. Professor Axe believes we have only a limited amount of energy, and people who use up their supply more quickly live shorter lives. Research shows that people who run long distances into their 50s are using up energy they need for other purposes. Okay, so as you can see, there clearly you can see there are clear answers to this questionnaire here. Some of them are true, some of them are false. Okay, let me just quickly go through this article again and just highlight some of the words. Okay, difficult words. Okay, now here, strenuous means you're working a little bit too hard, you're making your body work a little bit too hard, you're pushing it beyond its limits. So that's what you mean by strenuous. Okay, aerobics, it's when you're doing things like cycling, okay, jumping jacks, okay, when you're jumping up and down, okay, you're really exerting, you're making your body move around quite. Sometimes you put music and you're dancing, right, doing certain dancing exercise, that is known as aerobics. Okay, laze means just relaxing, is another way of saying you're just relaxing. Laze, you're just taking it easy. Okay, that's another word for saying laze. Okay, brisk, that means quickly. Okay, to do a short walk or brisk walk or to walk fast. Okay, brisk, words like that. So there are words like that in here. So all you need to do is get a dictionary, underline those difficult words, and then just look at the dictionary for the definition. Sometimes they give you example sentences as well. Okay, just to clarify the meaning. Okay. Okay, question number 3 here. Underline two expressions in the article which means to relax or to rest. So there are two expressions here that talk about relaxing or to rest. Okay, so if you want, just pause this video or just pause this PowerPoint and just quickly see if you can identify those words. Okay, so here they are, lazing around, to take it easy. So these are the words that have the similar meaning, that give the similar meaning to relax or to rest. Lazing around, to take it easy. Okay, now question number 4 here is, choose the best title for the article. So you read the article, so out of these, okay, you can also come up with your own idea. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Health risks for the over 50s. Siesta or marathon. Now, what is siesta? Siesta is actually a Spanish word for a nap. Okay. Now, in Spain, okay, when you take the Spanish working culture, okay, especially in Spain, they have something called a siesta in the afternoon. This is where they tend to go out for lunch, have a really good lunch, and then they have a very short nap for about half an hour. Okay, this is their culture. Okay, I know it doesn't happen in Sri Lanka. Okay, right? There was a time when we used to have a siesta in Sri Lanka, but not anymore. But I think it's a good idea, I think, to have at least a power nap, just to give you a moment just to relax. Okay, because you have been working from morning till about lunch. Okay, so you should go out and have lunch, enjoy lunch. Okay, and then have a small nap just to calm yourself down again and refresh your mind again for the next several hours until you finish your work for the evening. Okay, so siesta is actually a Spanish term for nap, or a Spanish word for nap. Okay, so out of these headings, is there any heading that matches this? Now, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy is not exactly a suitable heading for this. But what does this mean? This is actually an idiom that we use in English language. Okay, all work no play makes Jack a dull boy. Okay, that means somebody who just constantly plays and does not take moment to relax or just to have some fun tends to be a very sad person. So that's true. Somebody who is a workaholic and just works and doesn't have any fun or doesn't take a break can tend to be a bit of a dull person to be around. Okay, so that's what this means. Health risk for over 50s. Now this topic is only related to a certain portion of the article, only to this last paragraph. So you can't use that as a topic. Okay, siesta or marathon, again, that only refers to a portion of the article. So you will have to come up with your own idea. So what would I come up with as a topic for this? I would say I would use you should relax and enjoy life. That would be a good topic. All working is not just enough. Just working is not enough. You should also learn to play. Okay, or you could just use the topic work-life balance even. Okay, work-life balance. How can you achieve work-life balance? Okay, you could even use that. Or exercise is very important, but so is having a nap. Okay, so you can come up with interesting topics to describe this article. Okay, now there are some more questions here for you to think about, to ponder on. Okay, do you agree with any of Professor Ack's suggestion? Which one? So in my opinion, I do agree, especially with the part about having a nap, a short nap, a power nap, and also exercising. Yes, I think there should be brisk walk is better than doing strenuous exercising. What do you do to relax? So what do you do to relax? What do I do to relax? Well, maybe I just tend to have just sit and maybe watch a movie or something like that. That helps to relax my mind. Or maybe again just have a nap. Okay, that would really help me to relax. Do you find it easy to relax? I think all of us find it easy to relax. I think who wouldn't like to relax, okay, when they get an opportunity. Okay, do you do more or less exercise than you would like to do? Do you do more or less exercise than you think is good for you? Why? Okay, in my opinion, do I do a lot of exercise? Not really. Okay, if you saw me, you would understand why. But I try to do as much as I can, but I should do more just to ensure that I get that 30 minutes of exercise which is recommended for each day. Okay, right? So these are questions you can ponder on and try to answer. Okay, now this is important. These questions get you to think and also get you to think about how can I answer these questions. So all these questions that we have been looking for is getting you to think. So this is what you're going to learn when you attend if you do decide to register for the two programs that I mentioned, because through this it's not just about me teaching you, it's more about you getting you to think and trying to think practically, like trying to answer questions of this nature, because this is practical. Okay, in the work organization you might have conversations about this, okay, or you might be even asked to do a presentation about how this could impact an employee's health. Okay, so when you think about when you try to answer these questions, okay, and try to think about possible answers, you will try to think of vocabulary, and then you'll try to think of sentence structures, and you will definitely read articles for sure to find possible answers for these questions. Okay, so that's where you're going to learn a lot. Okay, so that's why these questions are important. There is a practical application to me asking these questions, okay, or for these questions being asked from you. So take a moment to think about these questions, and if you have a notepad or a paper, just write your answers down, because that helps. Get your thoughts in writing, physically in writing, get your thoughts down in a physical manner, and then that will really help you to focus on what you want to say. Okay. Work-life balance, phrase bank, talking about routine. So these are phrases or groups of words that you can use when you're trying to talk about work-life balance, or when you're trying to answer questions about work-life balance. So here you go. We work 37 hours a week or 20 hours a week. They work an average of 5 hours overtime. Yeah. The average user saves 45 minutes a day by being able to check emails on the move. I always go to work by car, by bus, by plane, by train, by bicycle, or by walking. Okay. I usually just have a sandwich for lunch. I usually have a biryani for lunch. Yeah. Okay. Sri Lankan context. Okay. Or I usually have a lump rice for lunch. Yes. Some of you love that kind of food. Do we have kofta for lunch? Yes. Sometimes we could have a kofta for lunch, maybe. Yeah. I hardly ever send text messages. Okay. She sometimes has to work at the weekends. It involves long hours. It means a lot of traveling. We get 3 weeks holidays a year. So try to create a conversation using these phrases, okay? Or try to start a conversation, or include these phrases in your conversation about not just about work-life balance. These can be used in other instances too, especially when you're at an interview. If you want to talk about something, or if you're trying to talk about your job, you can use these phrases. Okay. Right, work and routines. Complete the sentences with the pairs of words in the box, okay? Right, so there are pairs of words here, okay? For example, check plus emails, okay? So you need to put one of these words in one of the blanks and the other word in the other blank, okay? So that's how it works. You need to put one of these words into one of the blanks and the other word into the other blank, okay? So that's how it works. So if you want, just pause this PowerPoint or pause this video, and then just try to see if you can fill in the blanks. Okay, let me do the first one for you. We only half an hour for lunch. Okay, so we only get half an hour off off for lunch. We only get half an hour off for lunch. So likewise, see if you can put in the other words into these blanks. Okay, so here are the answers. Okay, the first one, we only get half an hour off for lunch. Okay, second one is what? Full-time work. More than 4 million full-time employees work more than 48 hours a week. Okay. I work overtime. So C is work and overtime. I work an average of 6 hours overtime a week. So what do you mean by overtime? As in OT? Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with the word OT, when you work extra hours to earn that extra little bit of income. Yes, I think a lot of people do that these days. Okay, especially given the current circumstances, we're trying to earn as much income as we can. Okay. For D, it takes us, it takes me an hour to get to work. It takes me an hour to get to work. E is what? Check emails. I check my emails at least 10 times a day. I check my emails at least 10 times a day. F, the, okay? Ratio 2. The ratio of men to women is 2 to 1 in my job. Okay, so we're talking about ratios here, as in 2, 1, right? 1, 2, right? Okay. The ratio of men to women is 2 to 1 in my job. Okay. Productive day. Nobody can be productive 16 hours a day. Okay. Nobody can be productive 16 hours a day. What do you mean by productive? The amount of work, amount of good work that you can do within a day. And nobody who works for 16 hours can really work, work with. That's just too long. Okay, working for 16 hours is not exactly good. Okay, working for maybe maximum 8 hours is okay, but 16 is actually double. Okay, so imagine working for 16 hours. I know there are people in this world that actually work for this amount of hours, and I feel sorry for them. But in reality, you should not be working 16 hours. You should maybe maximum be working for 8 hours, because you don't have time to enjoy life. Okay, it's not all about work. You should also enjoy life as well. Okay, so that's how you answer this. So when you're answering this, please learn the sentence structures. Please learn how these words are used in this sentence. Don't just answer, don't just fill in the blanks. Try to understand why are these answers used, why are these words used, okay? How these sentences are constructed. This is information you need. This is business communication. These are words you need to communicate effectively in a business context, okay? Right, second one, match the sentences beginning A to H. So these sentences with the endings here, okay, right. Okay, so these are statements from the article, okay, from the article that was taken, okay, these are taken from that article we looked at. So the first one, let me do the first one for you as an example. Professor acts things that lazing, okay, lazing. So what should be the answer? Lazing around is good for you. Professor X thinks that lazing around is good for you. So just take a moment and see if you can match these with these here, right? So I'll give you a few moments. I'll pause the video, I'll pause the PowerPoint, and just see if you can answer these questions. Okay, so here are the answers. So A is 1. Professor X thinks lazing around is good for you. B is 5. So doing as little as possible is better than going to the gym. Okay, right? Statement of the year, I guess. Some people will disagree. Okay, right? Staying at home is better than going to the gym. Really? Yeah. Okay. So some people might question that, right? Being lazy is the key to a long and healthy life. You would imagine, okay, you going telling that to your boss now. Okay, being lazy is good for you. Imagine going and telling that to, let's say, Kumar Sangakkara. Okay, he would raise his eyebrows and think, are you mad? Okay, but reality is there has been some research has been done. Okay, so it's saying being lazy is the key to a long and healthy life. Okay, so yeah, you need to relax a little bit, right? Take a midday break instead of playing squash or going for a run, because doing something strenuous like this in the afternoon after lunch is not good. You should just relax a little bit. Yes, you should relax. Okay. He is in favor of moderate exercise like walking. He's in favor of moderate exercise like walking. Try to take it easy this weekend. Try to take it easy this weekend. Okay. We only have a limited amount of energy. Yes, we only have a limited amount of energy per day. We need to rest. We can't overexert ourselves. That means push beyond our limits. Okay, there are moments when you can. Okay, let's say if you're training to become a military personnel, let's say you're in the special forces, there you will have to exert yourself beyond crazy levels. Yes, yeah, even if you're doing something like martial arts also, you have to go beyond your limits. Okay, it's good in a way. You should go beyond your limits. Sometimes you should not limit, but sometimes you need to be really wary of your body. Okay, yeah, wary of your body's limitations. Okay, if you go over the limit, you should know when to stop. Okay, or when if you do go over the limit, you should see, can I still go a little bit further? Okay, so that comes from training and practice. Okay, if you get up early, you are likely to feel stress for the rest of the day. Yes, if you do, let's say if we had a late night and if you have to get up really early in the morning, let's say 3, 4 in the morning, for some really important reason, you're going to be very grumpy in the morning. You're going to be very angry. You're going to be very moody. Okay, I'm speaking from experience. I sometimes have to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning to get ready for school, and it's not easy getting up 4 in the morning because you can be a little bit grumpy, right? Okay. Do as an auxiliary verb. Okay, do auxiliary. Now in the English language, we have something called auxiliary verbs. Okay, auxiliary verbs, or we call them helping verbs. Now these are little words that are used to give extra meaning to the main verb. In the English language, we have something called the main verb, and then we have something called auxiliary verbs, or helping verbs that tend to give a bit more meaning to the main verb, mostly in terms of tenses or in terms of time period, because these auxiliary verbs should tell you, okay, what time period this action is taking place. Because some of the main verbs that we use in sentences will not tell you the time period. It will just tell you what action is happening, but it will tell you whether it will not tell you whether it's happening in the past, present, or future. Okay, so do is a particular auxiliary verb or helping verb that is used with the present simple and the past simple. Now do is actually the present simple form of the verb do. Okay, and we have does as well, do and does. So do is used with first person singular, which is I, and with first person uh, plural, which is we, and also second person singular and plural, which is you. So, and also third person plural, they. Okay, so I do, we do, you do, they do. Okay, but when we are using third person singular, which is he, she, and it, we are going to be using does, D-O-E-S, does. Okay, so let me just bring up a table here. Okay, so as you can see, do, does, did, done. So do, as you can, do, does is used with present tense. So this is, do is used with I, you, they, and we. Okay, does is used with he, she, and it. This is used only in present simple tense and past simple tense, and not used with the other tenses. Okay, right? And then you have did, which is the past tense form of do. So we're going to be using with past simple tense, and done, which is the past participle form. Okay, which is going to be used with perfect tense. So let's not worry about tenses too much. Just understand when we are going to be using it. Okay, so here complete the conversation using do, does, don't, or doesn't. Right? Okay. So let's look at here. So as you can see, I, you, we, they do. Yeah, he, she, it does. Okay, but for when it comes to past tense, you're going to be using did with all of these: I, you, we, they, he, she, it. And done also, you're going to be using with all of this. Okay, I have done, you have done, she has done. Okay, right? So here are some examples. I do exercises. I did, this is past. I did my homework. I have done, this is actually present perfect tense. Okay, he does exercises. Okay, so this is again present simple, but we're using he. He did, past simple. He has done, this is past perfect tense. Okay, he has done, past perfect tense. Okay, do, does, this, auxiliary to make questions. So you're going to be using these to make questions as well in the present simple and the past simple. Okay, so do plus I, you, we, they, go. So do I, okay, or do you, do we, do they, do I go, or do you go, or do you want, or do you like, or then you have does he like, or does she like, or does it like, or does he want, or does she want, etc., like that. Okay, can you see how they're connected? Auxiliary did, past tense. Did I go, or did you want, or did she want? Yes, can you see? Okay, so do you speak English? Did you speak English? Does he speak English or did he speak English? Yeah. So can you see how these sentences are construction? The only difference between a question in the present tense and a question in the past tense is the auxiliary do, does, or did. Okay. Right. So in your time, pause this video and see if you can go through this. Right. So now let's see if we can answer this. So you have to create questions using do, does, or don't, or doesn't. Okay. So this is negative. Okay. So when you're creating negative sentences also in present simple or past simple, you're going to be using the auxiliary verbs do, does, and did. Okay. Right. So just take a moment. So the first one here, let me do the first one for you. You do a lot of exercise, okay? So what should come here? Do you do a lot of exercise? Do you do a lot of exercise? So take a few moments and see if you can answer, fill in the blanks using do, does, don't, or doesn't, okay? Okay, let's look at the answers. Here you go. So the first one is I did it for you. Do you do a lot of exercise? Second one, do again. Yes, I suppose I do. Why do you ask? Okay. So basically this is a conversation. So when you say A, B, A, B. So it's actually a conversation. So you need to just put the relevant answers in. Okay. Well, it's better if you don't, according to a German scientist. So this is referring to that article. Okay. We just read. What doesn't he say about it? Okay, or what does he say about it? Okay, so the answer is D. What does he say about it? Okay, so next one is what? He doesn't say that exercise is bad for you exactly, but that if you do too much, you use up all your energy. Okay, okay, that doesn't make sense. Sport is good for you and makes you feel better. Yes, but according to him, people who run a lot and play squash, okay, G, don't usually live to an old age. Yeah, don't comes in. Well, I don't believe it. Okay, he probably just doesn't like sport. Okay, so can you see how these were used to create questions, right, and also to create negative sentences as well, right? So please have a look at this again when you get an opportunity. Okay. Right, phrasal verbs. Okay, so what are phrasal verbs? Okay, phrasal verbs combine a verb from box A with a preposition from box B to complete each sentence below. You may need to change the verb form, right? Okay, so let's first of all find out what a phrasal verb is. Okay, right? Phrasal verbs. A phrasal verb is a verb that is made up of a main verb together with an adverb or a preposition or both. Okay. Typically, their meaning is not obvious from the meanings of the individual words themselves. For example, okay. So these are so phrasal verbs are actually groups of words that have been put together. Okay. So you're going to be using a verb since it says verbs. So the main word will be a verb, and to that you'll be either adding on an adverb or a preposition. Okay, right? So here are some examples. She has always looked down on me. Fighting broke out among a group of 40 men. I'll see to the animals. Don't put me off. I'm trying to, now here, they're not together, but still you can take it as a phrasal verb, okay? The report spelled out, okay? So these are all phrasal verbs, words that have been put together to give a certain meaning, okay? Certain meaning, right? So let's see what are adverbs and prepositions, okay? Here you go, prepositions. A preposition is a word such as after, in, to, on, and with. Okay, prepositions are usually used in front of nouns or pronouns, and they show the relationship between the noun or pronoun and other words in a sentence. They describe, for example. Okay, so pronouns are actually, prepositions are actually bridging words. Okay, so let's say there is a pronoun or a noun in a sentence, okay, separately. So you're going to use a preposition to connect that pronoun or pronoun or noun to the rest of the sentence. You're going to be using a preposition to do that. Okay, so that's what you need. Prepositions in a sentence. Okay, that's what they do. That's their function. They are bridging words. They bridge the rest of the sentence to a noun or a noun phrase or a pronoun. Okay, or you could put it, say the other way. A preposition is a word used to bridge, okay, bridge a noun phrase or a pronoun to the rest of the sentence. Okay, so as you can see, her bag was under the chair. The dog crawled between us and lay down at our feet. His flat was over the shop. The time when something happens. So they arrived on Sunday. The class starts at shortly after their marriage. So when it comes to preposition, there is no exact rule. You have to read and learn and try to remember and understand the context in which these prepositions are used. Okay, that's how we learn preposition. Now, what are adverbs? An adverb is a verb that's used to give information about a verb, adjective, or other adverb. So basically, it gives a bit more description. Okay, gives more information in terms of the verb or the adjective or the adverb being used. Okay, right? Is that clear? So that's what prepositions are, and that's what adverbs are. Okay. Right, so let's try to do this exercise, okay? Combine a verb from box A with a preposition from box B to complete each sentence below. You may need to change the verb form, okay? Right, so you have give, go, pick, switch, use, work, off, out, through, up and up. Okay, right? So you need to connect these. Okay, but they have to connect correctly. Okay, they need, when they're connected, they need to give the right meaning. Okay, let me do the first one for you. Please, can you your mobile phones before the presentation begins? So what should come here? So normally at a presentation, if you go to a presentation, what do they ask you to do? Okay, when you have your mobile phones, I know some people don't do it, even though this instruction is given, some people tend to just leave it on, okay? Right, so the instruction is to turn off, right? Normally tell you to switch off. So what do we have here? We have switch here and we have off. So please, can you switch off your mobile phones before the presentation begins? So I'm just going to give you a few moments. Okay, if you want, just pause the video or pause the PowerPoint and see if you can answer these, fill in the blanks using these words. Okay, so here are the answers. Okay, so the first one was switch off. Second one, after a long day at the office, I like to work out at the gym before I go home. So this is a good way to relieve stress. Yeah, some people go to the gym just to relieve stress by exercising. Okay, but don't overdo it. I think that's the key thing. Okay, after a long day at the office, I like to work out. Okay, so that what do you mean by work out? That means you're exercising. It's another way of saying that you're going there to exercise. Okay, at the gym before I go home. Right? I want to smoking because I know it's bad for my health. I want to give up. Okay, that means stop smoking because I know it's bad for my health. I want to give up. I want to eventually stop smoking. Okay, the taxi space me space every morning at 9:30. Okay, so what? D. Okay, so it gets divided here. The taxi picks me up. Okay, picks me up. So it gets divided here. Picks me up every morning at 9:30. I don't want to use up all my energy during strenuous exercise. So what do you mean by use up? To quickly finish or to complete, okay, right? Okay, I don't want to use up all my energy doing strenuous exercise, okay? She goes through her correspondence with her secretary every morning, okay? Goes through, that means looks through or just has a look, yeah? Okay, that's what goes through mean in this context. Again, try to learn these words, very important. And look at the context they are using. Try to learn the context they are used in. Okay, sometimes when you go to, when you look it up in a dictionary, especially when it comes to phrasal verbs, the meaning will not be the same. If you go to the dictionary and look for the meaning of the word work, and if you look for the meaning of the verb the word out, it won't give you the same meaning, okay? Because workout means something totally different. Work on its own means something totally different. Out on its own also means something totally different, right? So you can't refer to a dictionary and try to get the definition of these. You have to actually learn the context they are used in when you're used to together like this. So that's the beauty of phrasal verbs. Right, so now let's move on to the grammar. That was actually grammar as well. So what we're looking at here is actually grammar, okay? To say how often something happens, you can use adverbs of frequency. Adverbs of frequency. Now, when it comes to adverbs, they get divided into several groups. So because we now saw what adverbs are, basically these are words that come in front of adjectives, adverbs, and also verbs. They give a description. They give extra information about those different types of words. So let's look at this. So here are some adverbs of frequency: always, hardly ever, never, not often, often, sometimes, usually. So when we say frequency, that means how often something happens. As you can see, these are to do with how often something happens. Remember that previous exercise we did where we try to identify these words that were used to talk about often. Yes, yeah. So that's what this is. Okay, the adverb comes before the main verb. So remember, when you're using adverbs of frequency, the adverb comes before the main verb. Okay, it comes before the main verb. Okay, so the adverb comes before the main verb, all right? The adverb comes before the main verb, but after the verb to be. So what do we mean by this verb to be? Be verbs are actually be, am, is, are, was, were, been, and being. Okay, so these are the be verbs in the English language. When you hear the term be verbs, it refers to the word be, am, are, is, was, were, been, that's B-E-E-N, and being, as in B-I-N-G. Okay, so here are the examples here. So the adverb comes before the main verb. So here are the examples. I usually drive to work, or if you're creating the negative, I don't usually drive to work. Or if you're using a plural thing here, she sometimes goes out for lunch. Okay, all right, she doesn't often drive to work. So can you see drive, go, these are the main verbs here. So the adverbs are coming, adverbs of frequency are coming before the main verb. Okay, can you see that it's coming before the main verb? Now here be verbs: am, are, is. Okay, I am, are, is, but after the verb to be. So I am usually late, or I am not usually late. Okay, so late, tired is the main verb. So here there's the adverb, but you have your be verbs. Okay, so these are the main verbs. These be verbs are used to give extra meaning to these main verbs. Okay, when we talk about tenses, you will understand this. Okay, right? So I am usually late. So these are your adverbs of frequency. So these are appearing after the be verbs but before the main verb. So this rule applies here. Okay, so adverbs of frequently appear before the main verb but after be verbs. Okay, so be verbs are also considered to be auxiliary verbs, right? They're also known as helping verbs. Then you have something called, you can also use time phrases. Okay, time phrases: every day, every week, once a day, once a week, twice a month, 3 times a year. Okay, so these are time phrases. These phrases come at the beginning or end of the sentence or clause. So they can come at the beginning or they can come at the end. Okay, so here you go, they are coming at the end. I have a break once a day, or I have a break 3 times a month. Okay, she goes on holiday 4 times a year. Okay, so it's coming afterwards. Now here, 4 times a year she goes on holiday. Okay, 4 times a year she goes on holiday. So you can reverse it. Okay, that's the beauty of the English language. Okay, and also the confusion of the English language. Sometimes it can be very confusing. Sometimes it can be very beautiful when you do understand how the grammar works in the English language, or how words are used. So that's why it's important when you're learning business English, or when you're learning corporate English, okay, when you're trying to get that edge over your colleagues in terms of communication, you really understand how the English language works, okay? That's where you need to understand grammar. It's important because it's the basic foundation of the English language, okay? And when you are using corporate language or when you're using business English, you need to know how grammar works to understand why these words are being used, okay? Right, so here's practice exercise 1. Recognize, reorganize the words to make correct sentences, okay? Reorganize the words to make correct sentences. Right, so here we go. Let me do the first one for you. So these are all jumbled up, so you need to reorganize, put it in the right order to make a sentence that makes sense, okay? Abroad times I a year travel for, okay? So let me just unjumble this for you. Let me do the first example. So you have abroad, you have times I a year travel for. So the sentence will be I travel abroad 4 times a year, okay? I travel abroad 4 times a year, okay? Right, so likewise, take a moment or pause the video and see if you can answer these, unjumble these words to make proper sentences. Okay, so here are the answers, okay? I travel abroad 4 times a year. B, we always have a department meeting on Monday morning. C, he doesn't often go to Germany. D, the department manager usually leaves early on Friday. E, I never use the car because I can't drive. F, she always has lunch in the office canteen. G, they aren't often late for work. Then you have H, Microsoft is always in the news. I change my mobile every year. I wish I could do the same thing every year, but I don't have that luxury. Okay, I'm sure all of us would like to change, have a brand new mobile phone every year. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Maybe one of the flagship phones like the Samsung. I never was a fan of Apple. Okay, I'm a fan of Android. Okay, right? I'm an Android fanboy. Okay, J, do you ever have office parties? Yes, I love office parties. K, how often do you go to the gym? L, do you use your laptop much? Yes, I do use my laptop quite a bit. Okay. Okay. Practice 2. Rewrite the questions using question words what, who, when, how long. Okay, so these words what, who, when, how long, these are known as question words. Okay, so they tend to come in front of the auxiliary verbs. So we learned about do, did, and does. Okay, so sometimes we are going to be using these question words in front of these auxiliary verbs, do, does, and is, and also the other auxiliary verbs, which are the be verbs, and also we have, has, and had. Okay, later on we can, in later lessons we can look at these. Okay, so the first one has been done for you. Do you go to work by car, on foot? Okay, how do you go to work? Okay, so that's the question you need to ask. How do you go to work by car or on foot? How do you go to work? So likewise you need to make question sentences asking. Okay, so let's do the second one. Do you use the phone a lot? Ever? You could say how often do you use the phone? Okay, okay, how often do you use the phone? Or do you use, or how do you use the phone? Do you ever use the phone, like that? You can make those sentences. Okay, so just again pause the video and see if you can create those sentences. Okay, so here are your answers. How do you go to work? How much? How often do you use the phone? What time? When do you get to work? Why does he do the housework? How often does he play squash? Who does she go to work with? With whom does she go to work? How do you spend the morning? How many hours a week do you work? How long does it take you to read the newspaper? Why do you work so hard? Okay, right. Okay, so those are the answers. Right, so that brings us to the end of this lesson, this demo lesson. I do hope you were able to learn quite a few things in terms of communicating in the business language. So this is what I mean by the corporate edge. Okay, when you're working in the corporate field, or when you're working for an organization, whether you like it or not, the predominant language used, okay, in the corporate world is English. Okay, so if you don't have a good command of this language, you will have difficulty in trying to progress to the next level, or even to communicate your ideas effectively, especially when it comes to doing a presentation. If you have the world's most best idea, if you don't know how to communicate effectively, your managers, your superiors will not respect you, or will not even take the time to listen to you. So it's very important that you know how to communicate from a business perspective, and learn how to use business jargon or business language, or certain sentence structures in terms of business communication. Okay, so it's important that you try to learn these things. So today was a demo lesson just to give you an insight of what will be covered in these programs. But when you come to these sessions, it will be done live. So I will be there in person. Okay, I will be there in person, so it will be a lot more interactive compared to this demo video. I just did this demo video just to give you a taste, an idea of what to expect when you come to these two programs. So let me just again remind you. So on the 9th of October, which is a Monday, I will be commencing the corporate edge program for for managers and above level. But if you still feel that you're at a decent level, you can join this program, because the English use will be will be in the levels of intermediate and advanced. Okay, so the level will be between intermediate and advanced. Okay, so if you feel that you have a pretty decent grasp of the English language, you can register for this program. So it's a 4-month program. Okay, and it's on Mondays, and it will be from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Okay, the investment is 45,000 rupees, and there will be a 10% discount for the first 10 registrations before the 8th of October. So please try to register as soon as you can. Otherwise, the places will get, the seats will get booked pretty quickly. Okay, and the location is Global Technological Campus. And the second program, which will start on the 12th of October, is for students. So that will be A-level students, university students. Okay, and even if you're still following a degree or reading for a degree, it's for you. And if you're an executive, okay, let's say from let's say senior bank, let's say you're a senior banking assistant, or let's say you're a junior executive or even a senior executive, this is the program for you, because the language will be from pre-intermediate up to about upper intermediate. Okay, from pre-intermediate up to about upper intermediate. So I'll be covering a lot of the basics. Okay, basics in terms of business English and all. But for both programs, I will be covering a lot of things, especially grammar, which is important. Okay, please remember, grammar is extremely important. Okay, without grammar you cannot effectively get your ideas across. Okay, so the second program, again, it's 4 months duration, and again it will be held on Monday. Okay, sorry, the it'll be on Monday, but the first program, it'll be on Fridays, not on Monday. Do apologize for the small typo error in the leaflet here. Okay, so the program beginning on the 9th of October, right, it'll be a Friday, and the program commencing on the 12th of October, it will be a Monday. Okay, so both programs will be 4 months in duration. Okay, and the time will be from 6 to 8:30 p.m. The investment for the first one is 45,000. Investment for the second one is 40,000. Both will have a 10% discount for the first 10 registrations before the 8th of October, and the installment plans are available. It is a 4-month installment plan, and the location will be Global Technological Campus at Duty Camden Street, Kohuala. Okay, right. So that's near what you call the Kiehl's outlet, and also Adele. Okay, on that road. So it's nearby to those outlets. Okay, so please call me on 0718-698-070, and my name is Johnson Jayarandasinghe, but you can call me Johnson. So I will be the facilitator for these programs. Okay, these have been designed by me after a lot of work and a lot of research. Okay, so please So in terms of my qualifications, okay, I am CELTA qualified, okay, which is a prominent qualification, the qualification you need in terms of teaching English to speakers of English to speakers of English as a second language, okay. Also, I am a teacher at a prominent international school as well, okay. Right, so thank you very much for taking the time to go through this demo lesson. I do hope that you have been able to learn a lot through this lesson. Okay. So the corporate edge, so if you really want to succeed in your corporate career, or if you're planning to enter the corporate world, okay, or it doesn't matter, even if you're trying to become a doctor, you still need to have these communication skills. So please do join me, okay, for the corporate edge, and my organization is Growth Together, Gain the Edge Today. So given the current circumstances, don't wait until tomorrow. Try to achieve your goals today itself. Okay, try to achieve the best that you can today itself, because tomorrow, as they say, it's going to be too late, right? Because given the current circumstances, it's going to be kind of tricky. So try to make the most out of today and don't wait until tomorrow. So thank you very much. So my name is Johnson. So I look forward to being your facilitator, and I look forward to really helping you to get to that next level in terms of your language skills and in terms of your communication skills. So thank you very much. Have a pleasant future. God bless.